What if the person everyone focused on from the very beginning was never the true reason Nancy Guthrie was taken? For more than 100 days, people across the country have been asking the same questions. How could an 84-year-old woman disappear from her own home in the middle of the night? How could a case that attracted national attention still have so few public answers? And perhaps most importantly, have investigators and the public been looking in the wrong direction this entire time? When Nancy Guthrie vanished, many people immediately connected the case to the most visible name associated with the family. It seemed like a reasonable place to start. Public attention often follows fame, and fame often attracts unwanted attention. At first glance, that explanation appeared to fit, but as the weeks turned into months, some details began raising new questions. The more people examined what reportedly happened, the more difficult it became to understand the motive behind it. Nancy Guthrie was not a celebrity herself. She was an elderly woman living her life quietly. Friends and neighbors reportedly described her as kind, caring, and deeply connected to her family. She represented something familiar to many people watching this story unfold. A grandmother who spent years building memories with her family. A mother whose presence brought comfort to the people around her. A woman who should have felt safe in her own home. That is one reason this case has touched so many people. When viewers hear Nancy's story, many picture someone they love. Picture a quiet neighborhood before sunrise. The streets are empty. Porch lights cast soft circles across driveways. Most people are asleep, unaware that something terrible is about to happen. According to reports, Nancy disappeared during those dark hours. Investigators reportedly found signs suggesting this was not a simple missing person case. From the beginning, authorities treated the situation seriously. Questions quickly emerged about whether Nancy had been specifically targeted. At first, many observers believed the answer was obvious. The theory centered on the family's public profile and the possibility that someone wanted attention, money, or leverage. At first, that seemed like a reasonable explanation. But there was another detail that complicated things. As time passed, the behavior reportedly associated with the case did not always match what investigators often see in crimes motivated purely by financial gain. That does not mean money played no role. It simply means some observers began noticing inconsistencies. You may already have your own theory. Many people do. Yet one of the challenges in any major investigation is separating assumptions from evidence. Sometimes the first explanation that seems logical turns out to be wrong. Law enforcement professionals often discuss tunnel vision. It can happen when a case appears to point strongly in one direction, causing other possibilities to receive less attention early on. That brings us to an important question. What if Nancy herself was not chosen because of a public connection? What if the real answer exists somewhere much closer to her daily life? To understand why some people are asking that question, we need to look more carefully at the circumstances surrounding the case. One thing investigators routinely examine is familiarity. Criminals do not always strike randomly. Sometimes they know the area. Sometimes they know routines. Sometimes they know far more about a victim than people realize. Imagine standing across the street from a home during the evening. A lamp glows through a front window. A car sits quietly in the driveway. Family members come and go at familiar times. Someone paying attention could learn a great deal simply by watching. According to investigators in many similar cases, familiarity often matters. In many investigations, dangerous individuals exist on the outer edges of people's lives. A former acquaintance. A friend of a friend. A business contact. Someone carrying a grudge. Someone dealing with financial troubles. Someone struggling with addiction. Someone who crossed paths with the family years earlier and was largely forgotten. The exact details remain unclear, but investigators frequently examine these types of connections because they sometimes reveal motives that were not obvious at first. One detail continues to stand out. If a crime is primarily about money, criminals usually focus heavily on obtaining money. That sounds simple, but it is an important point. In many extortion or kidnapping cases, there is a clear objective. The offender wants payment. Communication often reflects that goal. Yet some observers have questioned whether all reported aspects of this case fit neatly into that category. Again, that does not prove anything. It simply leaves room for additional questions. And when major questions remain unanswered after months, investigators typically revisit every possibility. As you hear this, consider what you would have thought at the beginning. Would you have focused on the public connection? Most people probably would have. The media certainly did. Online discussions often did as well. The reason is understandable. High-profile connections naturally attract attention. But sometimes attention can pull focus away from other possibilities. In other investigations, the most important clues have often been hidden inside ordinary details that people initially ignored. A routine conversation. An overlooked relationship. A small disagreement that seemed unimportant at the time. Sometimes those details become the key to understanding everything. Could something similar be true here? Nobody outside the investigation knows for certain. Still, the possibility raises an important question. Perhaps the person responsible was not driven primarily by publicity. Perhaps the person responsible was motivated by something much more personal. Fear. Resentment. Anger. Revenge. Those motives often create behavior that appears confusing to outsiders. They can also cause criminals to take enormous risks. Picture someone acting on emotion rather than careful planning. Their decisions may appear inconsistent. Their actions may not fully align with what experts expect from a traditional financial crime. That possibility has caused some analysts to reconsider earlier assumptions. Not because there is proof of a different motive, but because unanswered questions remain. And in investigations, unanswered questions matter. The longer a mystery remains unsolved, the more important it becomes to challenge assumptions. That does not mean abandoning facts. It means following them wherever they lead. For Nancy Guthrie's family, the most important issue remains finding answers. For investigators, the priority remains understanding exactly what happened. And for the millions of people who continue following this case, the central mystery remains the same. Were we looking at the wrong person from the beginning? Or are the answers hiding somewhere much closer than anyone first imagined? That question will take us deeper into the evidence, the relationships, and the theories surrounding Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. And as we'll see next, some of the details that initially appeared insignificant may be more important than anyone realized.